Today, we are talking about professional critiques, or sometimes crits, as we call them in the art world. They are really important. For one, they help you as an artist grow. They can point you in a direction. They also give you fresh eyes to look at your artwork, and they make sure that you as an artist are communicating effectively with the audience. We have 5 works of art to look at today, all by a 12-year-old artist named Nicole. They're asking for a critique. I usually do crits for high school students that are applying to college, or sometimes college students that are applying for scholarships to help get their portfolio ready. So this one, her being 12 years old, is a little early in that process, but hopefully I can give her some insight into her artwork that will help her move forward. These are the 5 pieces of artwork that we're going to look at, and I always try to note my first impression. So my first impression with all 5 of the pieces of art is I like the energy. I think these are all fun, happy paintings. I really applaud the use of color and that they are just diving right into the painting. They're experimenting with different techniques. I think at this point you should really be trying all media. So you should be drawing, you should be painting, you should try some printmaking. It is way too early in your art career to pick a favorite. So just try everything. And you should also be looking for lots of opportunities for art classes. You can take some continuing ed classes. You can also join some free classes at the library. Sometimes there's after-school programs. Or in your area, there are several museums. So the Dom Museum in Sedalia, Missouri, or the Nelson Atkins Museum in Kansas City, the Kemper Museum will have lots of different classes and opportunities that you can go ahead and get started with. I want to look at each of the paintings a little closer, and we're going to start with this one. And I was not provided with a title, but I'm just going to title it Turtles in the Water. I like that there is a burst in the very center, so then everything else is in silhouettes. So you have the rocks around the edge, which sort of create a frame around the picture, and then you have fish, and then you have these 2 turtles. And the turtles really are the center point, like they're the emphasis of the painting. You also have some limited color, so you're basically just using blue, white, and black. So I would love to see you try this image in a drawing. So try it with graphite pencil, working on values, getting a lot of darks and lights, and a lot of the darks and lights into the rock formations. That's going to change them from just being a shape into a really nice element in this whole piece. So variations in the rock's edges would also be great, but I'm also thinking about variation in the turtle size. Both of the turtles are almost the exact same size. They're doing the exact same activity. So if they could be a little bit different, if one of them could be swimming with their fin in a different way, if one of them could be larger than the other, that would have a bigger emphasis. And if one of them is larger, then that means they're closer to the viewer than the other one is farther away. The second painting that we're looking at is the butterflies. This is a very sweet looking painting. It has a really delightful mood. What I like best is the background, that it goes from dark to light, it goes from yellow to purple, and yellow and purple are complementary colors, so they just shine next to each other. So I think the background was really chosen well. In this picture, we have a lot of dominant features. We have the 2 beautiful butterflies, we have the lovely flowers, and then we have what looks like a sea of bubbles that are going on. And I think what would make this painting a little stronger is to choose one of these elements, either the butterflies, the flowers, or the bubbles, to sort of make that the emphasis. Because right now, all of these things are kind of competing for my attention together. If it was my painting, I probably would make the butterflies the center of attention. They have a dramatic color on them. They're really beautiful. So I probably would have a few less bubbles and really draw the emphasis for the viewer's eye to these beautiful butterflies that are flying around these flowers. I just love this experimentation that you've done with the background, and I would like to see a lot more of this. For our third painting, we have the two birds in what looks like grape leaves. And for this one, I would really like to talk a little bit about composition. And composition means how things are arranged in the picture. We in the art world, we have a very definite rule of thirds. And I sort of noticed this when you had two turtles in one picture, you had two butterflies, and now you have two birds. And the two birds are definitely the center of interest. Humans are naturally drawn to odd numbers. So generally, when you're arranging things in your house, you look for groups of three. Or in this case, I'm just sort of beckoning for another bird. So we have a group of three birds and we would have an odd number. So I really would like you to try that in your next painting, to have an odd number of things. I also want to talk a little bit about a variation. Don't be afraid of getting really dark colors, like inside the leaves and on the other side of the grapes or the flowers, to get a little darker in your colors, because that will give it a lot of depth. I like that you have used a variation of colors for the green leaves, and I see a little bit of that darker green that kind of pushes the space way back in the back, but you could definitely use more of it. As far as the grape leaves, I see that beautiful white highlight that you have to each one of them, but it's missing the other side, which is that crescent shape of a shadow, that darker purple on that side. So really push your values and think about compositions with three. This is our next butterfly painting, and this one is really, really beautiful. I love the dramatic attention that this butterfly painting is getting. It's almost like a portrait, like of a very famous person, but yet we have this beautiful butterfly. I like that the background is not competing, that the dark background really makes this butterfly stand out. What I particularly am drawn to on this piece is the signature in the bottom right corner. Artists should always sign their artwork with the same media that they made it. So that is, never do an oil painting and then sign it with a Sharpie pen. I see that you're signing your work with the paint, which is great. But this one, you have chosen this beautiful purple, which doesn't make your name stand out in any way. It kind of blends in with the background, and that's what I really like about it. I don't want anything to draw my attention away from this beautiful butterfly. I also like that it's all very dark. And with all the things being dark, the background is dark, some of the wings are dark. It's got a very harmonious sort of quality about the whole picture, like it's blending really well. The only thing that I would change, if anything at all, would be the white dots that you have on the butterfly wings. They seem a little bright compared to everything else. And when I squint my eyes, and sometimes I squint my eyes to look at the values of a painting, to look at the dark and light, And there in those white dots kind of overpower a little bit, and they're the first thing that pops out at me. If those were that beautiful orange color that you have used, or maybe even the purple, they would just blend perfectly with the rest of this beautiful portrait. The last painting that we have from my friend Nicole is this one that I'm going to call The Dancer. This is a really fun painting. And when I first look at this painting, what strikes me is the texture. I love that you're experimenting with how to create the texture of this skirt. I cannot see this painting in person, but I just feel that there's a lot of paint on it and that you're really having a lot of fun with the tactile quality of the paint. I like that the dancer is exaggerated in scale. That is not an issue for me at all. I really like the dramatic pose that this dancer has. A couple of hints that I'm going to give you is that the dancer's foot is touching the very bottom of the canvas. And you want to move that up ever so slightly, about an inch. One, it gives you a leeway into the dancer, but two, if you have this professionally framed, the frame is going to block off that part of her foot. So if you just cautiously paint that up just a little bit, then when you have it framed, that's not going to interfere with your vision at all. And again, it gives her that little leeway. And I think her legs being dramatically long, you have enough of an area to kind of shorten that leg just a little bit if it was to be framed. I really like the dramatic contrast here with the black and white. It's such a stark contrast. I'm trying to imagine if I were to see this picture, and I love all of the reds and the purples and the oranges, those beautiful colors that you've used in her skirt. If you were to put that into her body and her hair, it would really make, again, a really nice harmonious look, and maybe cut down a little bit on the contrast between the black and white. I love though that color trend that you have chosen that you used for her costume, and I think incorporating some of that in the skin and the background just would make a really beautiful piece. I think in all of these 5 paintings, I think that you have done a really great job. I think that going forward, just continuing to draw more, get a sketchbook and draw on it every single day. Art is a discipline and you get better with practice. So practice makes progress. It does not make perfect, but it makes progress. So just like you would practice the piano every single day, I want you to draw every single day in a sketchbook, because that's just going to help your artwork a little bit more. I also want you to draw from life, which means that instead of drawing from your imagination or drawing from a photograph, you're actually drawing the things that are in front of you. So you go to a park and you're going to draw the trees and the pond and the kids playing at that park, or set in front of you the salt and pepper shakers or the condiments at the kitchen table and draw them. So draw all these things that are in front of you. Several different things that happen when you draw from a photo is that a photo already flattens and distorts the image. And so it's kind of working against what you are wanting. So nothing replaces drawing skills. So you can have the best color theory or really fancy paint tricks, but your drawing skills need to be on point as we look at this dancer. I think we looked at 5 really strong pieces of artwork today, and I can't wait to see Nicole's artwork in another year from now and 5 years from now, because I know she's just going to continue to keep growing and growing, and I applaud you for stepping into this very creative field. If you are in need of a professional critique, please contact me through my website. It's Charity-Mika.com.